Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inside Winston Cup Racing. Today, we're at the Watkins Glen International Road Course at Watkins Glen, New York, where the Budweiser at the Glen NASCAR Winston Cup race was run this past weekend. The Busch Grand Nationals ran also in North Carolina. We'll have reports on all of that and more in this half hour of Inside Winston Cup Racing.
After coming off of back-to-back championship seasons, it seems that Lady Luck has turned her back on the GM Goodwrench Racing team. We'll talk to coroner Richard Childress and Dale Earnhardt about their problems, their fans, and their outlook for the remainder of this year.
And we'll have the short track action from Rougemont, North Carolina, as Jimmy Spencer continues to show his strength in the Busch Grand National division. It was tires and talent paying off for Spencer in the Texas Pete Sauces 300.
Inside Winston Cup Racing is brought to you by cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft and Miller Genuine Draft Light, taking the country by storm, and by Goodyear, #1 in tires.
Miller Genuine Draft Bobby Ray Hall IndyCar. This year is really flying.
Today, performance cars come in a variety of designs, sizes, and even prices. So do Goodyear Eagles, the world's most successful line of performance tires. There are all-season Goodyear Eagles, new ultra-performance Goodyear Eagles. There are Goodyear Eagles for the classic and for the contemporary. No matter what performance car you own, there's a Goodyear Eagle priced for you. It's another reason we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
What does a high-speed turn at Daytona have to do with a left turn on Elm Street? At Ford, we race more to learn more about things like safety, because there's nothing like hugging a wall at 200 miles an hour to learn how to improve crosswind stability, or racing in a crowd to learn about safer, more responsive handling. And what we learn in this rush hour traffic, you can use in yours. Have you driven a Ford lately?
Next week, live on Nashville Now, look for Martina McBride, Shannon Doe, Linda Davis, and Joe Diffie.
Just as long as I'm leaving town, baby, I'm gone.
That's next week on Nashville Now, right here on TNN.
The Budweiser at the Glen is the last road course race of the 1992 season for the NASCAR Winston Cup drivers. Normally, we would have pictures of the racing here at the Glen, but due to network restrictions, there's a little bit of politics going on. We aren't able to show you the pictures today. But Randy Pemberton does have a story on the race, as well as other news that surrounded the event.
Well, Ned, the news really came after qualifying here at the Budweiser at the Glen, and that's the fact that Dale Earnhardt registered his first pole position of 1992. Kyle Petty was on the outside of row 1. And the other news was the fact that 3 brothers were going to compete in a NASCAR Winston Cup race for only the second time in modern-day history. The Wallaces did it in Phoenix last year, where Kenny, Rusty, and Michael all competed in the Pyro 500. But here it was local favorites from Chemung, New York. Brett Bodine qualified as Quaker State Ford in the 3rd position, while young Todd Bodine, registering his first Winston Cup start ever, he qualified as Diet Pepsi Ford in the 21st position. Here, Jeff Bodine qualified the Motorcraft Ford in 9th position. And here's where the other news was. It was the fact that the Bud Moore team had taken on a new crew member here at Watkins Glen. It was none other than Travis Carter. We got a chance to talk to Travis before the Winston Cup race here at the Glen.
Well, you know, Bud called and asked me if I was interested in trying to help him some, and you know, he kind of needs somebody to be like in a middle management position, and that's what they've asked me to do. And I think it's a good opportunity for me. I'm kind of interested in seeing how the Ford program worked, and it gives me an opportunity to be involved with that some, and you know, and stay involved in the business and be available. And so, you know, you just need to really stay updated and as current as you can.
Any possibilities of still coming back with your own team?
Well, you know, I want to make it very clear that that is really what I want to do. My desire is to have my own team, run my own cars, and, you know, we'll continue to work every day toward that goal. Now, whether or not that is a reality beginning into next year, we don't know yet. You know, we just have to take these situations one day at a time, and, you know, I've made a commitment to help these guys. As long as I'm committed to do that, I will. It's a situation for me and for them. If it's working, we're happy, we'll continue doing it, and if either side is not pleased, you know, we're not tied to each other. So it's a good situation, I think, for both parties.
After swapping the lead with Ernie Irvan for much of the 51-lap rain-shortened Budweiser at the Glen, Kyle Petty picked up his first win of 1992 and only his second start ever at the Watkins Glen International Road Course. Morgan Shepherd picked up a strong second-place finish to register himself as an up-and-coming road racer. For Kyle and crew chief Robin Pemberton, it was a sigh of relief after a season full of strong runs but no wins.
And I think the two best cars here were our car and Ernie's car. And I do think Ernie's car was better on new tires. But as Ernie would run 10 or 15 laps, his car would get a little bit looser, and we'd catch him. And that's what I did. I finally caught him and passed him there at the end of the stop and got around him. And I think as the race went on, it would have equaled out. He would have been a good car for 10 or 15 laps. I would have been a good car for 10 or 15 laps. And the way the race was going to work out, it just depended on how the final caution fell, whether it was a 10-lap race or a 30-lap race. And I think we had a shot at it, though.
What about the design? Did you take on 2 tires under that first caution?
No, we took on 4 tires both times. Robin had a little bit different strategy, I think, and it got some guys mixed up. When we would come in the pits, we would change the right side tires first and then go around to the left sides and change the left sides like you do on a regular stop on an oval track, where everybody here, they go out and change the left sides first, then come back around and change the rights. And I think it got a few guys a little bit confused. I think that was Robin's strategy. We picked the end pit. That was his strategy, and I think the pit crew did a tremendous job. I mean, you know, we come in leading the race. Ernie was running second. We left. I was still leading. Ernie was running sixth, and I think that had a lot to do with us winning the race today.
Well, it's time for us to take a short break. Still to come on this edition of Inside Winston Cup Racing, we'll talk with Dale Earnhardt and Richard Childress about the woes of the Goodwrench team this year. We'll also have highlights of the Busch Grand Nationals from Rougemont, North Carolina. As we leave you for this break, here's the balance of the finishing order for the Bud at the Glen.
Kodak has long brought you the world in all its brilliant colors. Vivid reds, bright greens, deep blues. But what about the countless shades and hues that fall so beautifully in between? Announcing Kodak Gold Plus, the widest spectrum of color Kodak has ever captured on print film. Why trust your memories to anything less? True colors, more colors.
Hey, Chris, toss me mellow yellow.
Oh, great.
You're kidding.
Hey, don't worry about it, guys. I'll go back.
Yeah, we'll see you sometime next week.
That's 60 miles back.
When you've got a real thirst, nothing can keep you from the ice-cold citrus taste of Mellow Yellow. No mountains high enough, no ditch deep enough, no road rough enough. Mellow Yellow. There's nothing mellow about it.
Hey, Kyle, how'd you get back so fast?
Me and the Hummer took a little shortcut.
Well, I drive a race car for a living. I depend on the parts and pieces in my car. And I feel so confident knowing that Pennzoil is protecting the moving parts inside of my engine. Pennzoil's quality and protection give me the confidence I need to do my job without second thought. The protection that Pennzoil offers this race team makes us feel great. That's why I have the confidence to use it on the street and in my race car. I recommend Pennzoil to everybody. Pennzoil, performance, protection, quality.
Here's the real beauty of Rust-Oleum protective coatings. A tough barrier against the elements.
Rust-Oleum, the name that means protection.
That you're waving from the back roads by the rivers of my memory. For hours you're just gentle on my mind.
Glenn Campbell joins the Stavola Brothers tonight at 9/8 Central on TNN.
Coming up Sunday morning at 11:30 on race day, we'll have the latest news from Michigan International Speedway as the Winston Cup Series will be minutes away from the green flag. Trans Am Series will be ready to tackle another road course in Canada. Plus, we'll have the highlights from the biggest sprint car event of the year, the Knoxville Nationals. Join us.
Race Day, 2 different editions, 11:30 a.m. and 8:30 p.m. Eastern, TNN Motorsports Sundays.
Five-time NASCAR Winston Cup champion Dale Earnhardt and Richard Childress and the Goodwrench team have been the ones to beat for a number of years in NASCAR Winston Cup racing. They'd won 2 NASCAR Winston Cup championships in a row, but as we travel around the country, things haven't been too good for them this year, and the most asked question is, what has happened to Dale Earnhardt in 1992? Well, by some people's standards, he's not doing too bad, but by their own, it's not what they expect to be. Randy had an opportunity before the Bud at the Glen to sit down and talk to Earnhardt and Childress.
Dale Earnhardt and the Richard Childress Racing Team have been, without question, the organization that set the standards by which all other teams judge their success. Together for 9 seasons, they have accomplished what no other team could. They captured their first title in 1986, and in the 5 years since, they have never finished outside the top 3 in a championship chase. Also winning the coveted crown in 1987, 1990, and 91. Along the road, picking up 37 wins prior to this year. When the 1992 campaign kicked off, many thought the black number 3 was a shoo-in for its 3rd straight title. In 18 starts this year, Earnhardt has earned 11 top 10 finishes, but only once has he gone to victory lane. And while he is expected to win, he isn't expected to finish last or fall out of races. He's done both. And when he does run all day, his threats to win have been few and far between. Why? Only the 3 team knows for sure. And even they are searching for answers.
This year has been a little different. You know, we've had to build all brand new race cars aerodynamically this year. You know, that throws out all the wind tunnel data that we've gathered in the past. You know, we've got radial tires at every track. You know, I'm not making excuses for us having some poor performances from handling, but those are a few of the factors that's involved, and we just going back and working hard, and Dale's giving us all the input he can, and we're putting it all together. And, you know, it may take us the rest of the year to get this thing sorted out to be a dominant team.
You got to look at the whole deal, you know, like my whole career really, and I've had some great races and great years in racing, and I've got a lot to be proud of and to talk about, a lot of it, you know, wins and experience and stuff. And so you know, you look to have bad days or bad times. We won and I got with Richard in 84 and 85. We had 2 drastically bad years, blue engines, whatever. 86, 87 won championships. 88 we had a bad year with the tire controversy and things happening. In 89, we just ran second in the championship, just about won it. In 90 and 91, we win again. Maybe 92 is a bad year. You know, who knows?
Well, you know, it's real tough on everyone, and, you know, I feel more for the fans that come to watch Dale Earnhardt run and, you know, drive 500 miles to Talladega or somewhere to watch him go out and put on a show. And,
our car falls out. I feel that we cheat the fans when we have a performance like that. And also our sponsors, Good Wrench and Mac Tool and ACL, all our Western Steer, all of our sponsors, I feel that we cheat them when we can't keep a car out there for 500 miles. So it's hard emotionally on everyone, and especially the fans, to have to go back and face their friends the next day and say, hey, our guy wasn't out there. So
some of them rag, but that's a race fan's, deal. But they're still, asking questions on, well, you gonna get it going, or what's happening? And there was an autograph session on Thursday before we came here in Watkins Glen. Hey, how you gonna do? Well, we're testing good, and I'm looking forward to it. It's all about, the confidence that you have is, they can tell how confident you are by what you say. We come in here and sit on the pole, so maybe we backed it up. But they want to know what's happening, and but still, it's those kids, and you sign their autograph and their smiling faces. It's great to come back and do that.
While Dale may receive moral support from his fans, it's his crew that must work countless hours trying to get their car back to the front. And it's the true mark of a championship team if this team can weather the storm.
The professionalism that our team has got, we handle the good times and we handle the bad times, and they're going to be bad times, and we know that. So we don't do nothing different. We have our meetings, like you said, and kind of a team spirit meeting, as well as to be sure to let everybody in the shop know that we're not pointing fingers at no one person. We don't think one individual's doing it. Our motto around the shop is that we win together and we lose together. Everybody says, oh, we won. And when we lose, we say we lost. So that's the way it is.
We're not giving up in this points thing. I mean, we got to this position in 4 races. Maybe 4 or 5, we can get back to where we were if things go right. And like I said before, I ain't wishing anybody in bad luck, but luck's going to play a big part of it. So we want to keep our fingers crossed and work hard and be positive about everything we're doing, and maybe it'll turn around for us. But we're fighters. That race team's a fighter, and we're going to be coming back at them.
Well, folks, there were certainly never any doubt in my mind about Richard Childress and Dale Earnhardt, and they'll be a factor from here on out. We need to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have highlights of the Busch Grand Nationals from Rougemont, North Carolina. Jimmy Spencer back on top. Stay with us.
This is how Jimmy Spencer's last visit to Rougemont ended. A late race crash while he was leading. But Spencer got his revenge this past weekend. We'll have highlights of the Texas Pete Sauces 300 coming up next.
That had been away.
The Miller Genuine Draft Rusty Wallace stock car is back in town. So you better hold on.
Spread the word around. Guess who's back in town?
All of these championship-winning drivers have one thing in common: Goodyear Racing Eagles. The race-winning technology that's found in the Goodyear Racing Eagles can also be found in the world's best-selling line of high-performance street tires, Goodyear Eagle Street Radials. The champions know, and it's why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
Oil. It's the lifeblood of your engine. That makes your oil filter your engine's most vital organ. That's why Fram keeps going the extra mile to make the best protection even better. The Fram Extra Guard oil filter. Unique glass fiber paper stops more dirt than any other filter for the best protection ever. Fram Extra Guard, American or import, it's an extra lease on life.
Mark and my relationship goes way past business. I'm sure in a previous life he and I were twin brothers. Throughout the race, the driver and crew chief communicate. The driver complains about the car or brags about the car. It's the crew chief's job on pit stops to make whatever fixes he can to help the driver's predicament. Everyone has about the same access to equipment and technology, but the people who rub on it the most and think the most of it and think about it the most will end up winning the race.
All day,
Long as you belong to me.
all night, all
all music.
I feel lucky today.
CMT, Country Music Television. All right.
The NASCAR Busch Grand National drivers ran the Texas Pete Sausage 300 last Saturday night at Rougemont, North Carolina. Joe Nemechek had a good night. He's the points leader. In fact, he added on to his points because he came home in second place. He sat on the pole, but Jimmy Spencer was the man that made the right decision as far as tires were concerned, and he came home the winner. Here are the highlights.
Points leader Joe Nemechek led the 28-car field onto the Orange County Speedway, looking for his second straight win. Robert Presley started outside row 1 and moved around Nemechek on the opening lap. Presley's Oldsmobile led the first 100 laps of the 300-lap event. Jimmy Spencer started third, moved around Nemechek and into second place early in the race, and began his persistent pursuit of Presley. Kenny Wallace started the Dirt Devil Pontiac in the 11th position, slipped back in the field, and was eventually lapped by the leaders. Tommy Houston's Rosa Stores Buick was the first retiree from the race, pulling into the pits on lap 12 after losing an engine. Jim Bound qualified his Buick 9th in the field and was having a good run early in the race, eyeing his strongest performance of the season. Todd Bodine flew from Watkins Glen, New York, where he qualified for his first Winston Cup race, to Rougemont to run in the Texas Pete 300. He started 8th and was battling with Jeff Gordon, Butch Miller, and Ward Burton near the front of the field. Jack Sprague qualified his Staff America machine in 4th place, but pulled to the pits with an engine problem and eventually retired from the race after running 90 laps. Meanwhile, Presley continued to attack the track, weaving his way through the field, while Spencer continued his pursuit. The first of 3 caution flags flew for a multi-car incident between turns 1 and 2, including the 39 Buick of Mike Hovis and a Nescafe Pontiac of Chuck Bound. Bound nursed his car back to the pits, but his race ended on lap 59. As the event continued, pole sitter Nemechek moved around Spencer and chased Presley, pulling even with him as the race roared past the 1/3 mark. Then, while Presley and Nemechek were battling for the lead, Tracy Leslie spanked the wall in turn 4. The leaders escaped unscathed, but when traffic got trapped behind the Leslie car, Wallace tangled with Hermie Sadler, and Bodine was forced to take his Hungry Jack Buick to the grass to avoid further trouble. Wallace returned to the race, but finished 21st and fell to 5th in the Busch point standings. Nemechek and Presley pitted under caution, setting up some thrilling racing, with Spencer leading the way, while Presley, Nemechek, and Ward Burton battled to get to the front of the field. Nemechek took the lead on lap 123 and held on to it for the next 58 laps. Rougemont provided its share of short track rubbing and racing, and at the halfway mark, Hovis again brought out the caution, trailing a shower of sparks because of a missing left rear tire. Nemechek led on the restart, chased by the Burton brothers, Ward in the 27 and Jeff in the 8. Spencer continued his strong run, remembering what happened here in June, when Jimmy had the field covered but was caught up in a late race crash while he was leading. On lap 181, Spencer recaptured the point and was dogged by Nemechek and the Burtons, but Spencer never relinquished the lead. Tires were the critical factor, and Spencer's first aid crew had made the right call. Bodine outbattled Burton for 4th, with the top 3 the only cars left on the lead lap. Spencer took the checkers by 5 seconds ahead of Nemechek. Jim Bound picked up the best finish of his Busch career, finishing 3rd. Nemechek built his lead in the race for the BGN Driving Championship to 109 points over Robert Presley.
Everybody drove like true gentlemen this time. I think they learned from the last one. And, you know, I can't say enough about the Busch Series. I love racing in it, but I'm looking forward to Winston Cup.
Today's mailbox is brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft.
Our question today is from Kim Hopping of Cocoa, Florida, who writes, is there a difference in wheelbase between super speedway cars and short track cars? What is the reason for the difference? Well, Kim, actually there is no difference in the wheelbase of the car, but there is a difference in the tread width. And Ray Hudson, who's the chief mechanic on the Snickers Forge that Dick Crickle drives, explains.
Well, that's a good question, Kim. The rule that NASCAR has is 60-inch wheelbase, front and rear, but they'll allow you a half-inch in either direction. So on a short track where you need the cornering stability, most everybody stretches the rules to a half-inch. They run like 60 and a half on the short tracks, and then on the super speedways, for aerodynamic purposes, to get the body more streamlined, they'll pull the wheelbase in a half-inch. So you could say we run 59.5-inch cars on the speedways and 60 and a half on the short track.
If you have any race questions, write to us at Inside Winston Cup Racing, Box 240417, Charlotte 28224. If we use your question on the air, you'll receive this embroidered Miller Genuine Draft jacket free. You'll also receive a free copy of NASCAR videos, A Week in the Life of a Race Team, the latest volume in the exciting series, bringing the NASCAR lifestyle roaring into your living room.
Well, our time has come and gone again today. Hope you enjoyed the show. You be sure to be with us here next week for more on Inside Winston Cup Racing right here on TNN.
Inside Winston Cup Racing has been brought to you by cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft and Miller Genuine Draft Light, taking the country by storm, and by Goodyear, #1 in tires. Transportation for the Inside Winston Cup Racing crew provided by Fleetwood Enterprises, makers of a full line of excellent recreational vehicles. Clothing for the Inside Winston Cup Racing crew provided by Simpson Race Products, where innovation never stops. Promotional consideration and a fee paid for by the Champions Press, creators of the finest collectibles in the history of Winston Cup. And by NASCAR Video, taking you behind the scenes to meet the top drivers and personalities in the sport. Get your first volume featuring a week in the life of a race team. Order today.
Truckin' USA, 6 p.m. Eastern on TNN Sports Sunday.
This is TNN, the Nashville Network, the #1 source for country music, entertainment, and information.